everybody. So today's Saturday. That means it's time for family movie night. And I'm really excited because today is the beginning of this year's iteration of Muppet May. And this is something I've been doing for years and years and years and years. And so we have done all of the basic stuff and we've even deep dived into some of the more obscure stuff. But this year we're really doing it. And I'm super excited to this year. We are going to be talking about Jim Henson helmed projects. And so not necessarily Muppets and not necessarily even have any kind of puppetry of any kind, because we've done most of the Muppets and the Sesame Street helmed films. And so I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about Jim Henson products, but then also Jim Henson Company projects. So that's going to be great. And we're starting off with a really cool film. This is from 1969 and it is called The Cube. And this, a lot of people compare it to a Black Mirror episode, which is interesting. I haven't really seen very much Black Mirror, but they're a real surreal and make you think. And I think that this was probably very influenced by The Twilight Zone. This was part of NBC Experiment in Television, which I guess could have quite a variety. There's one episode called Music, which is about the writing of Hey Jude, and then something truly experimental like The Cube. So there could be quite a bit of different things, but something like The Cube really does feel very Twilight Zone-y to me. And it's a fascinating little snippet from the 1960s. And it's interesting because he was starting this at the same time that he was starting Sesame Street, and literally that same year. And so to see kind of him get this a more adult project at the same time of doing what would become what he would become known for with the more with the more childlike products is kind of fascinating to think about as well. And so The Cube, it's a 53-minute little film. I guess you call it a featurette because it's a little bit too long to be a short, but it is about a man who wakes up one day and he's in a cube. It's a small room that is lined with white boxes, and he doesn't know how to get out. And through the course of this 53 minutes, different people come in and out of the cube and tell him different things. What I like about this film is that it's very open-ended, very ambivalent. We don't really know what the cube is, what the cube is necessarily trying to say about life. And you could watch this and interpret it a lot of different ways, which I think is what makes really good sci-fi, is that you could watch it and have a discussion and be like, oh, you took it that way. That's interesting. I think you could take it this way. So The Cube, it stars this man named Richard Shale. And if you're a fan of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, you'll definitely recognize Richard Shale. He was in, I think, 4 different episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and he was always playing a different character. And the reason why he was on that show is he was married to Valerie Harper at the time. And then he went on to do Rhoda with her. And so, that's interesting. And he was more of a comedic actor. And there are some very funny parts of The Cube. His reactions, his response, his exasperation, all of that can be quite funny at times, which I think also helps it to not feel like heavy-handed. Like sometimes this kind of like high metaphor can just feel really pretentious and really annoying. And I don't think that you feel that way with this. And it starts out with the people coming in to see the man in the cube. It starts out, you see this woman who claims that he is her husband, that she's the wife. His parents supposedly come in, but he doesn't know who any of these people are. Then you have somebody who comes in and brings a phone, and he gets a certain degree of information from that phone. There's a funny scene where he tells them that about is 4 tons of chocolate rabbits that they have been working at as part of the cube, and that they've been working at that for 14 years. And then you also have a really meta scene where a guy comes in and there's a television and he talks about making a movie for the television. And so, which is what this is. This was a movie for television. And so it's it almost has like a Willy Wonka sort of feel, especially in Willy Wonka, the whole scene with the television. And what's that? I can't remember what that kid's name is, but the one who gets shrunk down. that definitely you can see that, you can feel that. But you also have this whole thing with that. You also have this whole thing where it feels like he's definitely was inspired by Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. At the beginning, there's at the beginning on the chair, there's the strawberry jam, and then by the end of the film, he is bleeding out strawberry jam. So there's a certain degree of like nonsense and what's happening that was interesting to me. Was fascinating to me to watch and wonder kind of what is he trying to say. And I like the fact that he it's not an obvious metaphor, which I feel like a lot of times when these things like this are done now, it's just so heavy handed. There's also some music at a certain point when they sing Home Sweet Home. And my take on the cube is that I think what he's trying to say is that basically media, including television, is kind of always with us all the time. We cannot escape the cube. Even if we're in nature and we're in this beautiful place, a lot of times, what do we think of? We think of, oh, that's just like this movie, especially someone like me who is media is such a part of my life. This reminds me of this scene from this movie. And you even have a conversation and you're like, oh, this is just like this episode of this television or this. It's like the cube. It's always there. It's always kind of narrating our life and we can't get out of it. It's just the way it is. And so that's kind of my take on the cube. But I think there are lots of valid interpretations that you could have about the cube. And I like Richard Schell. He's very good in this, and it's well directed, has like a very cool visual aesthetic. Like I said, it has that music with Home Sweet Home that's in there, and lots of different characters are constantly coming in to the cube and presenting them. There's police officers. There's these two comedians who come through that are really loud, kind of very Joker inspired. For it coming to the cube. So all of that, and so that keeps the pacing from sagging, and it keeps it kind of hopping. What's going to come up next, and what's going to happen if he does get to leave the cube. And I won't spoil that for you, but yeah, this is a very cool, a little sci-fi dystopian. It definitely has some feel of Doctor Who also in there. This was right around the time of the very, very first incantations of Doctor Who. So I can definitely see some of that in there. This Doctor Who started in 1963. So that would have been going around that time. I should wonder if he hadn't kind of gone down the Sesame Street route, what like could he have been like the next Stanley Kubrick? That's an interesting thought, that maybe there's this whole other path that he could have taken, but he ended up with mostly the family films and family shows and things. So yeah, I think the cube is worth checking out. You have to watch it on YouTube. It's not like the best quality, but at least it's there to watch. So you should check that out. And let me know if you've seen the cube. What do you think of the cube? What do you think it's trying to say? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. Make sure you check out all my Muppet May reviews. I'll put the playlist. Like I said, I've been doing this for years and years and years. So I got reviews of so many different Muppet properties and Sesame Street and Jim Henson. So check that out. And please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And if you could check out the Patreon group, that's the biggest way you can support everything I'm doing. And you're going to be part of watch-alongs and Q&As and have bonus content. Really fun to be part of the Patreon. And the merch store, we have tons of fun, cool designs. And so check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.